Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. We're back again this morning. I hope you all had a great evening last night. And today we're going to continue with the discussion that we started yesterday. Yesterday, we started with the general behavioral fraud indicators, and we have the entire guide that is actually used by the USCIS. And so we're discussing some more of these fraud indicators that you need to be aware of when you're, filing your application or going to have an interview at the USCIS. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome, guys. Good morning. I'm so sorry today. The way I positioned my camera, I did it just so that the light wouldn't reflect like yesterday. So, I hope it looks fine. Anyway, so let's start with the first fraud the following from yesterday. So these are some of the things that when you go for your interview, they're going to be looking out for. And the reason why we're going to be focusing a lot on marriage is because marriage is actually the quickest way to become a US citizen. That's like the quickest, because when you're married to a US citizen, you're given priority, and it's a very straight route, and so that's what people actually like to resort to. The other routes are quite cumbersome and longer and all of that, so we're going to be focusing more on marriage. Okay. And it's because also marriage simply marriage to a US is the fastest way to become a US citizen. That's why there's a lot of talk around the fraudulent aspect of the marriage. So continuing from yesterday, yesterday we looked at extreme nervousness, we looked at over interaction, we looked at lack of knowledge of basic question, and we looked at lateness for interview. The next thing we're going to be looking at is that answers prompted by attorney. So that is one red flag that they're going to be looking out for. When you go for the interview, you have to, as much as possible, go for your interview with an attorney that knows what they're doing and who is very professional in their outlook and in the way they carry themselves, the way they present themselves, and just the general perspective, the general perception that your attorney, the aura that your attorney gives is very helpful in these situations, because you don't want to go for an attorney who, for example, comes to your interview drunk. Okay, he's consumed some alcohol, and comes a little tipsy, is not sure of what's going on, and then flouts all the rules, like answer some of your questions for you, because the purpose of having your attorney there is not to answer your questions for you. You are the master of your facts, you as a client. And I tell people, the attorney, I am the master of the law and the master of how we will apply the facts to your, the master of how we will apply the law to your facts. But you are the master of your facts. You know the hometown you were born in. What school you attended. The attorney cannot know until you tell them. So the client or the applicant and their spouse, they are the masters of their own facts, and so the attorney cannot answer for you. The purpose of having an attorney there is sometimes it's a wide variety of there's a bunch of reasons why it's good to have an attorney with you at the interview. Sometimes it's to clarify points of law that the immigration officer may have wrong. Okay, sometimes these officers interpret the laws wrongly, so the attorney can help clarify in such situations. The attorney cannot, just keep answering your questions for you. So, for example, they ask you guys at your marriage based interview, so tell us how you met, and then your attorney says, oh, they met in school. That is totally unwarranted and uncalled for. That's not the role of the attorney. And if your attorney starts to do that, and then maybe they ask, oh, so tell us about your wedding, and then your attorney says, oh, it was a big and beautiful event. The more your attorney does those things, that's going to get the box checked right off, because that's a big warning sign. These are questions that the applicants can answer by themselves. Welcome everybody, welcome guys. These are questions the applicants can answer by themselves, and so there's no need to have the attorney butt in unwarranted. However, as I said, the attorney will clarify points of law when it's necessary. Okay, so that's the role of the attorney, and not to answer questions that are meant for the applicants or the petitioners and the beneficiaries. The second thing is lack of interest, lack of interaction. Clearly, I mean, if you go for a USCIS interview and you seem very disinterested, that's a red flag. Remember that a lot of these fraud indicators do not stand by themselves. They're usually a combination of them. And so if you go for the interview and you're slammed in your chair, you're slouched, you're busy on your phone, because usually you're not even allowed to take your phone into the interview. So maybe you just show a total lack of interest. You're just looking at the roof and humming, and just fidgeting with your earrings, or just looking at your time, looking at when you can get out of there, dozing off. These are all signs of lack of interest. You need to present yourself as very interested in what's happening. You have to have your proper posture. You are seated upright. You have all your documents ready, and then you are interacting with the adjudicator or the interviewer. You need to show that you're concerned about what's happening. Give your answers, show that you're interested. So if you're asked, when is your date of birth, and then you don't even seem interested, like my date of birth, no, none of that. You need to be very focused, give the answers promptly and accurately. My date of birth, where do you guys live? And you don't even know where your matrimonial home is. You seem disinterested and you're fumbling. You should know where your address is. All these things prove that you're interested or not. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this live video. We're still talking about, the fraud indicators that the USCIS looks out for when you go for an interview. Okay. The other thing, the next factor is eye contact. So we're looking at your eye contact, and this is a basic psychological factor. The less there's eye contact, the more shady you seem. So when you're transacting any type of business with anybody, you need to look directly into their eyes and then answer the questions. And you also cannot go staring directly into the eyeballs of the interviewer, right? That's going to freak him out. So you need to be measured in the way that you are looking directly at them when they ask the questions. And the eye contact rule that is usually found to be professional is to look in between the eyes. And so you look in between the eyes of the interviewer, okay, looking directly into the eyeballs of the person you're speaking to can sometimes give wrong signals, or looking at their lips can evoke some sort of sensuality, and you want to avoid those kinds of situations. So you try to look directly at the interviewer and be measured. Don't stare at them for 5 minutes continuously, as if you're warning them to give you your green card, otherwise you're going to shoot them. No. So you need to look at them measured, you look at them, answer. You can take your eyes away and then come back with your eyes. This should all be natural. This shouldn't be too calculated, okay? So the eye contact is important. If you are totally refusing eye contact and looking down and trying to hide, you just want to enter a cave, and that means you probably have something to hide. And so they are going to be looking at your case more critically. They might check off this box and then refer your entire petition to the fraud unit, and that's what we don't want. And so this whole discussion is not necessarily being done to age people to be fraudulent, but it's to help people with genuine cases on how to avoid your case being classified as a fraudulent one, because there are real marriages that sometimes when they don't even prepare, they might be classified as fraud, even though they are not fraud cases. Okay. The other thing, the next factor we're going to be looking at is evasive or general answers. No evasive answers. Okay. Don't give evasive answers or general answers. And so when you are asked, simple questions, you should be like, how did you guys meet? Oh, we met online. What kind, they want more answers than that. I had a client that met their spouse online, and at the interview, they were asked, how did you guys meet? She went further and talked about how they met on Facebook, the date on which they met, and then after that, after establishing some sort of exchange with their spouse, they actually met in person 6 months later. So these are some of the details you want to give. Then again, there's another caveat here. In as much as you want to give specific answers, you don't want to go into too much detail. Some people think that they need to describe how they met their spouse and how they had mind-blowing sex on the fourth night or on the third week, and how they gave what type of sexual positions. No, that's not the place or the time to go into what makes your husband orgasm. That's not a concern of the adjudicator, and all these things are going to be major red flags, and that may detract from the originality of your case. Hello, good morning, Counsel Mami Brago. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, everybody. So we're still talking about the fraud indicators. Yes, so don't give evasive answers. Also, don't go discussing how your husband likes to be serviced in bed. Nobody's interested in that. Just stick to very decent, normal, regular answers, and that will not have your file sent to the fraud unit. Okay. Then these other things, the last two behavioral factors are things that your attorney should not do. Like the attorney should not interrupt the answers, and the attorney should not distract or mislead. Okay. Good morning, Robert. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. You're very welcome. So these are things your attorney should always he should always compose himself properly. The attorney should present himself well, or present herself well, very well dressed. As I said, just be professional as an attorney. You don't want an attorney who is badly behaved and keeps interrupting, because it's your big day. The attorney is there to sometimes to actually take notes, very detailed notes of everything going on, so that in the case of, for example, an appeal, they will have a very clear record of what happened, and what they can argue or whatever. So your attorney acts as somebody who's there as a guide, and also to correct the immigration officer when they try to derail the course of the interview. Some officers have in the past been found to be asking inappropriate questions, and your attorney can bring him back to line. Good morning, Elvis. Good morning from Ghana. Okay, welcome, guys. Okay, thank you for joining us. So these are things that you should be mindful of, and I just want to go back to the answers that you're giving during the interview. As we were discussing, try not to give crazy answers, like, oh, tell us what you like about each other. That's not the time to start talking about intimacy, like sexual topics, because people feel like, okay, when I talk about maybe what type of sexual things my husband, the person I'm going with, likes, the adjudicator or the officer will be convinced that there's actually a real marriage. Okay, so just be very decent. Don't go into the terrain of things that shouldn't be discussed. Okay, just play it safe, be natural, be honest, be transparent, and then that should serve you well. Okay, so we're going to start with other fraud indicators. We don't have too much time left. We have just about a few minutes more left. So let me start with the first other fraud indicator: documents issued immediately before the interview. That is a big red flag and it's a no-no. So right before the interview, you try to prepare a lease in both your husband and your name. That's a big red flag. Or sometimes you realize that people submit documents of joint accounts, and right before an interview, you realize that the beneficiary has deposited a huge sum of money into the petitioner's account. And you remember that because of the I-944, which is the Declaration of Self-Sufficiency, or the public charge rule, which states that you need to actually prove that you're not going to be a burden to the U.S. You need to be able to show to them that you're capable of taking care of yourself, or your spouse is capable of supporting you. What they don't want is the idea that somebody is getting paid to state that they are your spouse. And so be careful of, huge transfers right before the interview, or the morning of the interview, or, a week before the interview. The beneficiary transfers 10,000 or $20,000 into your account, or whatever sum. Sometimes they get suspicious. It just shows that they begin to ask questions. Why are you buying the green card, or are you buying the US citizenship? So you need to be very careful, unless you have logical explanations about the huge transfer. Okay, sometimes it could be that there was a sudden medical bill and your spouse needed to transfer money, and it just happened that it happened 1 week before the interview, but it has nothing to do with the benefit you're seeking. Or maybe there was a huge bill that you guys received and your spouse had to give you the money for that. So you can explain those things away, but just be mindful that no huge sudden transfer of money or whatever. All right, guys, so that's all for today. To wrap it all up, what you don't want doing is you don't want to let the officer check off a lot of these boxes. Try to reduce the appearance of fraud in your cases, because sometimes even real cases may have the appearance of fraud if they are not prepared diligently and carefully, and they're not aware of some of these factors. So it's been really nice coming your way this morning, and I enjoyed seeing some of you here. I hope you join me again tomorrow. My name is Akua. As you can see right there, I'm sorry if you see my finger. Oh my goodness. In my attempt to stop the reflection of my glasses, I had to reposition my phone, and so I'm so sorry if you see my my palms appearing in this video. Okay, if you need if you need an immigration attorney for any type of US immigration application, please feel free to call me on 240-801-7288. My number is right down below. Call me and I'll be very happy to assist you. We'll book a consultation, and it's your special time with me. I'm going to take a very critical look at your case and see how best we can, either fix issues you have encountered along the way, or how to make your application better for a very strong and solid case. Okay, So I just wish you guys a very wonderful rest of the day, and thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.